Good morning. My favorite people, firefighters. You know, I began my career, as Harold said, actually just celebrated the 21st anniversary, and when I first got elected, I was the only member of our local board who shared an office in a fire station. So for 9 years, I worked out of Fire Station 30, not far from here, and I got to really have a great relationship with the rank and file. And I was there in 9/11, and our firefighters were back up to Arlington when the Pentagon was attacked. The Pentagon was the second worst terrorist attack in American history, after only the World Trade Center. And it was quite an emotional day. And it seared in my mind the commitment you represent, because those men and women went out not knowing what they were going to face, not knowing that day whether there were more terrorist attacks to be had, but they had a job to do. And that commitment, that sense of duty, and the training really paid off. And I salute you. That memory will always be with me. Thank you for what you do. Give yourselves a hand. You know, we just lost a friend, a great friend to the firefighters, George Burke. Many of you may remember George Burke. I think he worked for the IAFF for 17 years and came out of retirement to become my press secretary. He and I were friends for 32 years, and there was nobody who was not an active firefighter more committed to your cause than George Burke. Even when he was very sick in the last year, you know, what could get him out of a sickbed was to tell him, gee, we're having a meeting on firefighters. There was George. He was so committed to this cause and to each and every one of you, and was a passionate advocate for firefighters all across America. We sadly lost George toward the end of last year, and I salute George today. He was a good friend of Harold's and of this union, so thank you. As Harold indicated, I proudly, this year will be my 11th election, but the firefighters have been with me in every primary, in every contest for all of my 10 elections, and I'm a big believer in going home with them what bring you to the dance. And I do see myself as a passionate advocate, as Harold said, on your behalf now that I'm in the Congress. In local government, we did a lot working together to make sure that our firefighters' voice was represented, but also that they were treated fairly. And there's probably no group of employees more valued, certainly in my community, than you. And that was reflected in actions by the government. And of course, we created a wellness center that really has been transformative in our community, and I think it can be a model for other communities as well. In fact, Harold, I think you've even visited that wellness center once in a while, providing great health care, but also detecting early diseases and so forth that otherwise might not have been detected, and specifically focused on some of the health challenges our firefighters face. So very proud of that accomplishment. We've got a lot to do in the Congress, and as Harold indicated, I'm proud to be a co-sponsor, I think, of every single legislative initiative put forward by the IAFF, and we're going to do the best we can in this Congress. And most of those bills are bipartisan or have bipartisan co-sponsorship, so that's a good thing. But let me just talk a little bit, if I can, about the assault on labor in America, because that affects you too. We have never seen the kind of comprehensive assault that we're witnessing today. Right-to-work legislation has taken hold in labor strongholds like Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, West Virginia. I represent a right-to-work state. Right-to-work laws are designed to impede the ability of working men and women to organize. and they make it a lot harder in terms of having that seat at the table by right. By right. And we have to be vigilant. We have to be willing to take that fight to the streets, or metaphorically. We also just dodged a bullet in terms of the ability of unions to be able to withhold membership dues and fees by right. And the reason we survived was a 4-4 split decision on the Supreme Court very recently. So that next vote, the 9th vote on the Supreme Court, is going to be very important, because that issue is going to come back. And that could cripple unions' ability to do their jobs on behalf of everybody, whether they're members or not. This is a difficult time for unions in America, and we need to stand up for the rights of working men and women. We need to stand up for the right to organize, to be a member of a union unimpeded, to protect the rights of labor unions throughout America. And yours is a very important voice because of the stature of firefighters in our communities and the ability of those firefighters to represent themselves in a rational and meaningful way. So as I am the last speaker, my message is we got to fight. I am an Irishman, and I always like to say, you know, in my job in Congress, it helps to be Irish because you preserve a sense of humor, but you don't mind a good fight. And there are a lot of fights to be had. And we can win them, even in a difficult climate, if we stay unified and if we stay committed to the cause. And your voice and the leadership up here that represents you so ably and effectively in the halls of Congress is very, very important. More now maybe than at any time in our lives because of this systematic assault on who and what you are in terms of organized men and women. So keep up the good fight. I will always be there for you because I really do believe strongly in what the firefighters represent and what you do. And on behalf certainly of my community, thank you for what you do. Thank you for being so stalwart. And thanks for sending such great leadership on behalf of working men and women in America. Thank you. Thank you, buddy. Thank you.